This is the Journey Podcast. We highlight the journeys of our guests, where they've been, where they are now, and where they are going. Let's join them on their journey. Well, welcome to the Journey Podcast. Today we're joined by Tiffany Rockstroh, and I'm so happy to have Tiffany here today. She works in trust administration, and it's just a really neat kind of business she's in. She is the Executive Vice President for the Preferred Legacy Trust Company, and she can tell us more about what that all means, because when I think of trust, it's probably something completely different in the financial world, but it's probably similar as well. But had a very interesting career in banking and how that all works and how that came together, and actually just went on to help co-found this company, which I think is a huge accomplishment, because the financial world is confusing to me, as it is probably to some of our audience. And number one, I sometimes just have a hard time just doing the basics. But then to go found a company and actually manage other people's money seems kind of crazy to me. So I'm glad to have Tiffany here. She's going to demystify everything for us. Hopefully, it's probably really basic math stuff, and but hopefully just demystify it, and I think just help us understand just who you are and what you do. So tell us a little bit about who you are and the business you're in right now.
Well, as you said, my name is Tiffany Rockstroh. I work for the Preferred Legacy Trust Company. We're an independent trust company who specializes in family office services. Essentially, our goal is to work with clients to help them through the estate planning process and eventually serve as a role in their estate plan. So that could be a role as executor, as trustee of a trust, as financial power of attorney. We help our clients build a legacy that will last past their lifetime.
Okay, so is it just focusing on the end of life, or is there? I don't understand. Maybe don't understand exactly what a trust company does.
Sure, we work with clients to help them find the most strategic way to pass their assets from today to their beneficiaries.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's at the end of their life, because we do work with clients while they're obviously alive in order to set up the most tax efficient way to pass those assets.
I got it. So how does somebody, you co-founded this company, and there's lots of different companies out there that I assume that do that. Mm-hmm. So how did you come into this role, and why did you start the Preferred Legacy Trust?
So I found myself, I'd been in banking since 1999, and I've worked for several institutions that got bought and bought and bought. And you find yourself working for an organization that doesn't necessarily match exactly what you how you want to treat clients and work with clients.
Okay.
So I found myself in a position where I didn't necessarily like the institution or like the direction that the institution was going in. And so my partner and I decided to go out on our own and start our own independent trust company. My previous positions, I was the director of private banking for a couple of local institutions. And so I have always been in the wealth side of a bank, so this was kind of a natural fit. So essentially, we started down the path of opening an independent trust company, which is a bank without a bank. Does that make any sense?
No, it does not.
We have a bank charter. Okay. We're regulated by bank rules, but we aren't a depositing bank.
Okay, so I can't come in there and deposit my checks per se.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We're going to really work more so on the investment side.
I got it. Okay. So, financial services is pretty stressful topic for some people.
Right now, it's a very stressful topic for everybody.
Probably the more money you have, the more stressed out you are about the money. I don't know. Maybe it probably depends on the person.
Right.
I think I would be. How do you help people bring down that stress level? What do you think how do you contribute to helping with that?
Well, I think it's really listening to the client and what their concerns are, and making sure that you address their concerns and solve their problems. So usually, when somebody has anxiety, for example, about the market and the conditions and the volatility today, it's more so listening to what their concerns are, and talking to them through. We have a long-term plan. The plan is in place, and we need to stick with that plan.
So is this something that you always wanted to do when you grow up, is work with people's money?
No. Ironically, I fell into banking. I'd been in management for years and wanted to try something different. And a friend of mine said, you should really come work with me. I'm, working for, it was National City Bank at the time. I think you would be a great fit here and give it a try. So I started in their management training program, which essentially means that you start kind of from the bottom up and you work every single role inside a branch before you become the branch manager. So I did that for a couple of years and then ended up being like a turnaround branch specialist. So I would go into branches that weren't performing and turn them around and turn them into what we call a sales machine.
Yeah, I love that piece from your bio here. It says you turn these non-producing branches into profitable sales machine. Can you maybe speak to a little bit of the process on how do you turn something that's not even performing into a sales machine? I think every business owner wants to hear that.
Well, in my opinion, it's actually very easy, and it's just common things such as being kind and courteous to customers, being responsive to customers, and talking about what products and services you offer. Those were probably the 4 things that I did in all of the branches, were just getting your employees to talk and communicate and answer the phone and return phone calls. All things that you would think are common sense and super easy, but it's amazing people don't do them.
Yeah, and just taking the time and tracking what did we do, what didn't we do.
Exactly.
I think those is super important, and I love that. And you're just able to take that and finally say, you know what, I can make something of my own with that. So, tell me, what is one thing that you, in this venture of starting a trust company, that you didn't expect to happen?
So the first year of working through this process, we weren't open. We spent an entire year working with regulators to do our business plan.
So you weren't making any money?
We were making zero money. To do our set up our business plan and work through the regulation, policies, procedures, business continuity plans, the whole works. You have to have all of that, and then at the end of the day, you have a pre-open exam where the bank regulators come in and they verify that you have the soundness and safety to open your doors. So we did that, made it through our exam, great, flying colors. We got the green light to open our door. We opened our doors January 21st of 2020. So what I didn't expect is to have to close my doors a couple weeks later. The pandemic, our timing was impeccable. Fortunately, we had a very large book of business, so we were able to spend the next 9 months transitioning that book of business over to us. It really helped in a period of time where you couldn't go out and meet new clients.
Well, that's a pretty amazing story. So, in a very short amount of time, you had to change your business functions. A lot of businesses had to do that during 2020, but you also were fighting with the whole startup. Let's figure out how to make this work.
Right.
So how did you do that? Go transition so quickly as a startup, really, at that period.
Well, we've been in this industry for a long time. So I think that certainly played on our side. It wasn't something new that we were doing. We were just doing it under a new name. So we knew how to do our job and how to make it successful. We just needed to do it as the preferred legacy trust company. As far as learning how to adjust and with the pandemic, we were really fortunate. We had actually already put things in place that allowed us to work from home, to work from different communities, and to plug in and work safely wherever we were at. So we were already set up for that. It's just ironic that it happened right the way it did. We had a business continuity plan that is required by banking regulation. So we had one in place, and I've been hearing about it for 25 years. We've never used it. So this is the first time we finally got to put it to practice.
Finally got to use the thing and actually see if it worked.
And it did.
And it looks like it worked for you.
Yes.
You're still here.
Yeah.
You're still smiling. So.
Right.
So what's a common myth about a trust company?
The common myth is that you need a lot of money in order to have a trust. And really, there are two ways that you pass assets when you die, when you pass away. The first way is you pass them through titling your accounts correctly. The second way is through a trust. When you title your accounts correctly or you don't title your accounts correctly, your assets are going to go through probate court. When you have a trust, they go directly to your beneficiary. So a trust, the purpose of the trust is to avoid probate court or to give you control after you're gone. So whether you have a lot of money or not, a trust can still benefit you. It's all about having the control after you're gone to say this is why you can have money.
Okay, and does that fit with the will a little bit too? Is that the same thing as a will?
Yes.
Okay.
A will says who's going to get it.
If you have any questions, call Tiffany.
Yeah, your will, everybody needs a will, 100%. Somebody who wants to have control over their assets after they're gone need a trust.
I gotcha. Okay. So it's kind of like an operating agreement for a company.
Yes.
But for your life.
That's a great way to think about it. It's an operating company for your assets after you're gone.
Interesting.
Great way to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to help us understand that sometimes translating is hard between all of these industries and demystifying that for us. So what would you say is the biggest challenge you're facing in the trust business now after COVID?
I think it's probably the biggest challenge that all businesses are facing, hiring the right people.
Oh.
We've been very fortunate when we set up our company. We really hired one person who we've never worked with before, and he's turned out fantastic. But now we're in the process of expanding our business in Ohio as well as in other communities such as Atlanta and Dallas and hopefully Florida. And we don't know those individuals. So for us, it feels foreign to hire somebody who we don't know exactly what we're going to get at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's really tough. But I'm sure you're up for the challenge as you were with anything else. Just a new adventure there. So what would you say has been the most important lesson you've learned in your career, whether it's banking or prior to banking?
Work-life balance.
Okay.
That it's very important that you have a little bit of both. I mean, I obviously work very hard, sometimes a little bit too much. I have a hard time setting, down my phone and walking away from things and enjoying life. So if I could give it advice to anybody who owns a business or, is somebody who's working, is just take the time to smell the roses and enjoy life a little bit along the way as well.
So can you tell us a little bit about your life, family, hobbies, kids, pets? What's that look like?
I am married for 8 years, and I have 4 children, 3 stepchildren and 1 daughter.
Awesome. They're
between the ages of 32 and 22, 23 next week, and I have 2 dogs and a cat. And in my spare time, I work out and I paint and read books.
Yeah, I heard a rumor about some intense working out that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe something there. I hear Tiffany's pretty serious about her workout and everything.
I'm very serious about my workout. That's one thing that that work-life balance, it would be hard-pressed to get me to skip a workout. Not for very many reasons.
Not for very many. Better be a really good reason.
It better be a good reason, exactly.
Yes. So tell us, what do you think is the most important personality strength somebody needs to do what you do every day?
Responsive.
Okay.
Is just that if somebody calls you, it's because they need something from you. So even if they don't leave you a message or a text, that you immediately get back to them as soon as you're able. And clients then will learn that I know Tiffany didn't answer the phone, but she's going to call me back within the next however long it is. So responsiveness is the key.
Yeah, it probably goes a really long way, especially when you're responsible for helping them with these really stressful items too. They want to know that somebody's there and cares for them. So if somebody wanted to, maybe this applies to banking or trust specifically, but if they wanted to start out in this type of career, what kind of advice would you give them?
It takes a long time to build a book of business. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Get out and get to meet people. Anytime I have an opportunity to meet somebody, even if I think it doesn't relate to my career or to what I do for a living, I go meet them anyways, because you never know what
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never feel it's a waste of time to meet somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you doing a lot of in-personal network, or do you find some opportunities virtually now too?
We do both.
Okay.
So our we have a sister company, and they're located in the southern part of the United States, from North Carolina over to California, lower than southern past Kentucky.
Okay.
So we do spend a lot of time traveling, but as much as possible, we do it virtually because of the cost of travel right now.
Cost of travel and sometimes health concerns that we had even in 21 was still a super big challenge to travel.
We did very little travel in 21.
Yeah, very challenging and stuff. So you've spent all that time building this out. I'm sure you've had some mentor speaking into your life. Can you tell us about that mentor and who that is?
Sure. Well, I think I've had several along the way who have kind of groomed me, people who I've worked with at institutions, but primarily I would say it's Denise Pence, who's our CEO. Her and I met through a transition when she was purchasing Ohio Legacy Bank. So we met probably about 12 years ago, and she's really mentored me to be where I am today.
Wow, that's fantastic. And then it really became your partner.
Right.
I think that's awesome that you can work with your mentor in that capacity and have that. So tell us, what's one lesson that your job in banking and trust you think everybody should learn at some point in their life, regardless of their career?
Individuals don't control the market. Okay. The stock market's going to go up and down. What we can control is how we react to it, and taking the emotion out of it is super important.
So just don't get emotional. Yeah,
yes.
I think that.
It's not easy because it's your money. You're putting
true.
your money into it, and when you see things go down, it's really hard for people.
So true in business too, to try to pull that emotion out of it and say, okay, this is just a moment in time.
Right.
Try to see that big picture is really hard sometimes.
For sure.
So, so what would you say is unique about Tiffany the person, not the Preferred Legacy Trust?
That I try really super hard to accept everybody for who they are, and believe in people and see the best in them. At the same time, this is kind of counterintuitive or counterproductive, I guess, I'm also very skeptical. So while I accept people for who they are, I have a hard time trusting. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So even the person who runs the trust company understands how it's challenging to have some trust.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
I love that. So just maybe somebody who can understand the person on the other side of the desk. I really love that. So tell me, what is like an underrated tool that you use, or tools that are just, if you couldn't live without it to do your job every single day? Because you have a lot going on.
Lists.
Uh-huh.
Every night before I go home, I make a list. I go back through my notes for the day. I keep a notebook, and I go back through my notebook to say, okay, I didn't get this done or this done. I put them on my list for the next morning, and then make a list of what I need to do for the next day. I'm a list person. Make lists for everything. I made a list on the way over.
Love those lists, absolutely. So if you could start a business besides a trust company, what would you start next?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm going to die at the trust company, so I'm not necessarily going to start another business.
Hopefully it will not be the death of you, though.
No. That I really want to retire from here, but if I could, I guess a makeup company.
A makeup company.
I love makeup. So.
Oh, Tiffany's makeup. I love it. So that would be fantastic. And this it kind of goes with our rapid fire questions that we always do at the end. Is there any other, maybe making makeup is the answer. Is there another occupation you'd like to try?
No.
You're done.
No, this is it.
This is it. This and maybe some makeup. So
it's just some makeup, I guess.
Do we hint at some makeup making concoctions in the basement right now?
Not at all. Not
that we're aware of. So.
No.
So I appreciate you being on the Journey podcast today. This one's been a lot of fun. But I think myself, as a business owner, I read a lot because that's one of the ways that I learn, also just networking with other owners. Are there 3 books you would recommend to the audience?
Yes, not necessarily about work, though.
That's fine.
Okay.
We love fiction. We have all sorts of books that have been recommended here.
Okay.
We've had some sci-fi books recommended.
I'm sure you've heard of them all, but the first one is The Purpose-Driven Life.
Okay.
The second one is The Shack.
Okay.
And then the third one is The 5 People You Meet on the Way to Heaven.
I haven't read the third one.
Oh, you haven't?
I have not read that one yet.
Oh, no. You need to get it. It's very good.
Need to get that one. So, okay. If I were starting a business today, what's one word of wisdom you would give me?
Oh. Make a plan. Be patient. Be consistent. And be true to your vision. So whatever vision you have, don't sway from that. Don't let somebody else help make you sway from it.
That's a good word. So tell us how listeners can find you, where they can engage with Tiffany or their Preferred Legacy Trust Company.
You can find us at preferredlegacy.com, and there's a link on there to contact me.
Awesome. Yeah, so go check out preferredlegacy.com, read about Tiffany, her story, understand what she does. You can learn more about what they do here. I thank you, Tiffany, for being on the Journey podcast today. It's always great meeting with somebody like you who's just seen the vision and carried it through and is willing to put the work in. So thanks for being a part of the Journey podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.